The Trump administration has announced major changes to refugee admissions in the US, drastically slashing the number of people being allowed in the country. Work permit changes are also being made, which could leave immigrants out of work. A judge has extended her order blocking President Donald Trump from deploying National Guard troops to Portland, Oregon, dealing a setback to the administration. And ICE keeps spending its advertising funding as the federal government shutdown continues. I'm Dan Gooding, and this is what's happening this week in immigration. The refugee admissions cap in the US will be set to just 7,500 for the 2026 fiscal year. This is a dramatic reduction from the Biden administration's ceiling of 125,000 refugees last year. According to a notice published on October 30th, most of the reduced number of refugees admitted will be white South Africans. The notice didn't explain the reasons for such a steep reduction in admission numbers, but said it was, quote, justified by humanitarian concerns or is otherwise in the national interest. Refugee groups immediately reacted to the posting, with the International Refugee Assistance Project calling it egregious. President Trump heavily restricted both refugee and asylum programs on his return to office, but later welcomed a group of Afrikaners claiming they had faced persecution in South Africa. Trump has repeatedly alleged that the South African government is actively persecuting white citizens, particularly farmers, something leaders there deny.
When you look at the videos, I mean, how does it get worse? And these are people that are officials, and they're saying that kill the white farmer and take their land. That's what it is. And I have other friends in South Africa. I have people that left. One in particular that says you can't go there. He said they want to take your land. They take your land and they kill you. It's okay, and they say it's okay to do. Now we're going to talk about it. But this is a tremendous look. This is a story recent. Yeah. These are all people that recently got killed. Yeah. And I don't know how it can get any worse.
The president also signed an executive order stating that white South Africans could be considered refugees. That move, understandably, sparked outrage from refugee advocacy groups who argued that people from other nations in the midst of conflicts were being passed over. So what does this mean? Well, for those able to get to the US as refugees, protections and assistance are now much more limited. Another abrupt change that will impact immigrants is the decision to end the automatic extension of certain immigrant work permits. The move by the Department of Homeland Security will see the current 540-day buffer given to refugees, asylees, and spouses of certain other visa holders when they file for an employment authorization document renewal cancelled. DHS said the move was being made to ensure national security, but acknowledged that it could leave some immigrants out of work. Hundreds of thousands of EAD renewal applicants each year could be affected by the move, including those waiting for green cards. This is another Biden-era policy that the Trump administration has sought to change. Under Joe Biden, immigrants with EADs already were offered protection when it came to applying for renewals. DHS has acknowledged its system was slow, and so for people already vetted and working, they were granted up to 540 days of buffer to allow them to keep working. The new rules went into place on October 30th, meaning there will be no more automatic renewals, and immigrants will not be able to legally work until the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services makes a decision on their case. More bad news for people seeking to move to the US to work is the H-1B visa is changing again, this time in Florida. We talked about earlier changes last month in a video you can watch here. The crux of it is there's now a $100,000 fee for new H-1B applications, which could affect immigrants' chances of coming to the US to work, particularly in the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics industries. On October 28th, Governor Ron DeSantis directed the state's Board of Governors to end the use of H-1 visas at public universities across Florida. DeSantis said he would not tolerate H-1B abuse, arguing that universities should be producing enough skilled graduates to fill those positions. The governor said state universities would now be required to put American graduates first. Overall, Florida has roughly 7,250 H-1B approvals and renewals so far in 2025. Florida is not, however, the biggest user of H-1B visas, with California, New York, Texas, and New Jersey among those far outpacing it. But that doesn't mean hundreds of Florida workers won't be affected by the crackdown. The H-1B visa has become a hot-button topic for those opposed to the legal immigration system, namely work-based visas. It has been seen as a system that has been abused by big tech, who are looking to slash labour costs by recruiting overseas talent. The huge new fee is seen as a measure to stop companies doing that and perhaps look domestically for talent. While headline numbers can make it seem as if thousands of new immigrants are coming to the US each year on H-1B visas, a large share of the figure is usually made up of extension approvals. These visas last an initial 3 years with an option for a 3-year extension, and it should be noted that the Trump administration is still processing new applications from employers. ICE agents continue to make headlines with more raids and backlash, but we don't want to focus on that right now. New analysis shared with Newsweek this past week showed how much the agency has spent on advertising since the federal government shutdown. According to a report from Ekis, the Trump administration has spent almost $10 million on ads urging immigrants to self-deport and for Americans to join the US Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency. The data showed that these adverts continue to run on social media and television channels despite other vital government services being frozen. At a time when government services have been frozen or heavily cut back during the shutdown, one of the main programs being SNAP benefits, and agents going out without pay, policy experts and analysts are looking at where the money is still flowing. While SNAP doesn't fall under the Department of Homeland Security, the program has become a symbol of the ongoing standoff between Republicans and Democrats in Congress, leaving the federal government shut down for over 4 weeks. DHS Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin defended the source of the advertising funds, saying they came from the One Big Beautiful Bill Act's funding. Under the bill, over $45 billion was allocated to ICE to continue and accelerate its operations in the US as part of the Trump administration's aggressive immigration strategy. Amid the federal government shutdown, the White House has repeatedly blamed Democrats for critical programs and federal aid and wages being put on hold. The scale of the government shutdown has seen around 900,000 workers being furloughed and roughly 2 million going without pay, which makes this funding decision particularly hard to swallow. SNAP is another topic that has some divisive rhetoric around it, with headlines often spotlighting immigrant use of government benefits. However, data shows non-citizens account for a small fraction of SNAP recipients and consume fewer welfare dollars per person than US-born citizens. In 2019, about half of poor households with US-born members, 50%, participated in the SNAP program, compared with 47% of poor immigrant households in which all members were eligible and 46% of those with mixed eligibility, according to MPI analysis. These findings suggest that SNAP participation rates among poor immigrant households were slightly lower than among all US-born households. An analysis by the Economic Policy Innovation Center has found that in fiscal year 2023, approximately 1.7 million non-citizens received SNAP benefits, costing taxpayers around $5.7 billion. The research draws on data gathered by the USDA, and overall in fiscal year 2024, SNAP served an average of about 41.7 million people each month. Policy experts have repeatedly told Newsweek that immigrants without legal status are not eligible for the program or other government benefits, and that many of those with legal status who receive benefits are also paying taxes. A judge extended the block imposed on National Guard deployment by Trump in Portland. US District Court Judge Karen Emergert's decision late last Sunday came after a 3-day hearing that saw arguments over whether the Trump administration had violated the law by federalizing and trying to deploy Oregon and California troops to Portland. She said she would continue to block the Trump administration from deploying the National Guard to Oregon until 5 p.m. last Friday. Protests in Portland have erupted over the past few months due to the federal government's immigration enforcement. This was a setback to Trump, who has previously deployed the National Guard to Los Angeles and Washington, D.C. to tackle what he called surging crime. His ambition is to do the same in several other Democrat-run cities against the wishes of local leaders. The Trump admin has seen a number of setbacks in these plans to deploy the National Guard, including a federal court blocking the administration from federalizing the Illinois National Guard ahead of a planned deployment to Chicago. With Republicans controlling both chambers of Congress, the courts have emerged as one of the main impediments to Trump administration policy. One of the key factors of the debate is the extent of Trump's constitutional authority to deploy military forces domestically over the objections of city and state governments. So many vulnerable immigrants have, at least for now, lost out on access to the US as refugees, while others already vetted and working in the country look to lapse out of their status because of a well-known issue: a slow application system, unlikely to change anytime soon. While the White House seeks to make these rapid changes, we will likely keep hearing that the courts are getting in the way, questioning the president's authority and batting cases back and forth for months, even years, leaving the administration and the immigrants affected in limbo.